Greetings, everybody. This is Dr. Jonathan Cox here with your weekly lecture. This week, we are taking a look at how social media impacts dating and relationships, of course, focusing on the implications for race. Now, it's not hard to imagine that 50 years ago, people had very different views on dating and marrying outside of their race. In fact, 50 years ago was when the historically famous interracial couple, Richard and Mildred Loving, a white man and a black woman, were jailed for the crime of getting married in Virginia. Now, you may have seen the recent movie, Loving, that depicts this couple's incredible story. The Lovings went to court in defense of their union, and eventually, in 1967 to be exact, the laws in the US were changed once their case made it all the way up to the Supreme Court, and the court ruled that all laws banning interracial marriage were unconstitutional. Jumping to present times, this recent poll from Pew Research indicates that there has been a major reduction in the views of non-blacks who would oppose a relative marrying someone from outside of their race. Yet even here, we can see that opposition to marrying a black person across race is still the highest of any group. Now, the specific trends for intermarriage rates vary significantly, however, and highlight that whites in particular are much more likely to intermarry with Latinx or Asian partners than they are with black partners. Further, we see gender implicated as well. For instance, white men are more likely to intermarry with Asian women than white women are with Asian men. This suggests that there still are some racial and gender issues at play. Other research shows that racial attitudes impact decisions to date or marry across race. One study by James Brooks and Helen Neville found that for white men, the more strongly they subscribed to colorblind racial ideology, the less likely they were to express cross-racial romantic attraction to black women. Another study by Jennifer Lundquist and Ken Hao Lin looks at differences in interracial relationships for both heterosexual and homosexual daters. Now, their results suggest sexual orientation actually has very little to do with interracial dating preferences, and that instead, it appears to have much more to do with the race and gender of potential partners. Now, they found that both gay and straight whites are more likely to date other white people, but that when interracial dating does occur, it happens most often among straight white men, second among white lesbians, third most often among gay white men, and least often with straight white women. They also found that minority men experience discrimination to a greater degree than minority women in both same-sex and different-sex dating markets, and that while gay white men's higher rates of interracial relationships are driven more by constraints in the dating market, lesbians appear to be driven more by open racial preferences. Overall, current information about cross-racial dating demonstrates that there is still a pretty big gap between what people say they're willing to do and what they actually do. But how do social media and online dating fit in with all of this? A study done in 2013 by Quartz, which is a business and marketing website, looked at information from a Facebook dating app, and they found that all men except Asian men prefer Asian women, while all women except black women preferred white men. Additionally, both black men and black women were preferred least of all racial and gender groups. Other studies looking at online dating found that social media apps like Tinder and Grindr, for example, often help reinforce racial biases, or what some call sexual racism, based on the algorithms that these platforms use. For example, many of these apps learn your preferences based on who you respond to or who you don't respond to, and that can often limit connections across race. Studies also reveal that Asian men and black women have the lowest chance of receiving messages or responses in dating apps, that whites of any age prefer to go on dates with other whites, and that college students are the most likely to avoid going on dates with black women. Racial and ethnic minority users often report experiencing racism, such as being asked offensive questions like, "Can I get a taste of jungle fever?" or "I hope I can bring the hood out of you." Further, many users of these dating sites, particularly the white users, post discriminatory comments regarding their dating preferences, saying things like "not interested in Asians" or "no rice, no chocolate, no curry," which actually means no Asians, no blacks, or no Indians. Some researchers and creators of dating apps have attempted to address these concerns, however. For instance, OkCupid, one of the online dating sites, has experimented with the idea of pairing up users and saying that they are highly compatible, which, whether it's actually true or not, usually leads to good conversations between the two people being matched. Additionally, some dating apps have instituted more explicit policies that prohibit discriminatory language or using profiles to mention race at all. So, there you have it. More information about how social media impacts dating and relationships. Given the increasing pervasiveness of online spaces in our lives and the historic trends of white Americans in particular with regards to interracial dating, this is definitely an issue that will require continued attention. I hope you got a lot out of today's lecture. Make sure you're keeping up with all of your weekly readings and assignments. That's it for today. I'll talk to you later. Peace.